Good morning. Thank you for joining me again for part one of how to manage your emotions. Are you ready? I got a really honest, profound message yesterday. Someone reminded me of how hard it can be to trust, even those people in our lives that we really should be able to trust. Excuse me, sometimes those are the biggest betrayals that we experience. I can attest to that. Some of the people that I should have been able to trust with my life have betrayed me significantly. And that can be a bit of a soul crusher at times, right? But it can also show us what we're made of. Someone once said, don't ask God for strength or he will give you challenges so you can find yours. I don't know if I believe that, but I have experienced it. Every single challenge I have faced in my life has shown me who I am, has shown me how much stronger I am than I ever in a million years thought I would be. I didn't enjoy the process, but I choose strength over weakness any day. And really, I think what we should talk about today is how to just start trusting ourselves. Who can we turn to trust? Maybe there just isn't anyone in your life you can turn to, and maybe you can't afford to turn to a professional who, let's be honest, might not be a great support for you anyway. So who can you turn to? Well, if you believe in the Holy Spirit, turn to the Holy Spirit. If you believe in guides or angels or some loved one who passed before you that you believe is watching over you, and you can turn to this person in spirit to help you move through the uncomfortable phases of life, turn to that. Or turn to yourself. Start showing up for yourself. Start being there for yourself. And that's actually one of the first steps that I learned many years ago when I was learning how to get in touch with my emotions. I did something called inner child work. I had no idea what that was about. I had no idea how to communicate with my inner child. I had no idea what breath work was. I'm sure now at this time you can find all kinds of resources regarding working with your inner child and breath work. Usually this is done with somebody who knows how to do these things and how to guide people through them. But again, not all of us have the resources to hire somebody to help us do these things. So what I did is I bought the book and I started understanding what it meant to be a parent to my inner child. Thankfully, very quickly in that process, a friend of mine said, that's great, but don't get lost in the child. How long are you going to pacify the child in you before you just grow into the adult that you are? And that really helped me work through this inner child experience, because we all have a childhood that we have probably all had to start to overcome, but we don't know how to do that. And part of it really is kind of separating your adult self and how your adult self would parent that child at that time. How would you at 47 years old parent your 5-year-old self? What does that look like for you? What did you most need at 5 whenever XYZ occurred and nobody was there for you? And you didn't have any skills to even ask for help and even say, I'm not okay with what happened. Or, heaven forbid you were abused in some way. Your abuser used fear to shut you up. Let's be honest, that's what they do. and you were too afraid to go to a parent, even if you trusted your parents more than life itself. The fear mechanism that abusers use shut you down. So what does your 5-year-old, your 8-year-old, your 11-year-old, your 15-year-old self, your 20-year-old self, your 28-year-old self need most that they didn't get? And how can you be that for that self in you? So, what you could do is, and I know it sounds a little silly, but what you can do is take your adult self and tell your 5-year-old self, I'm here for you. We got this. I have tools now, and we can work through this. And what's super important to remember anytime that we're trying to work with and deal with emotion is not to get lost in it. Don't get lost in the inner child. Don't get lost in feeling all of the emotion. So then you go from not dealing with emotion at all to being an emotional wreck 100% of the time. We have to have the intent of moving through the emotion to heal it and get it out of the body, right? So intent is everything. People talk about mindset. Well, that's what it is. You're setting your mind with intent. I intend to look at what it was that I needed that I didn't get, so I can heal this. I can move through that. And that doesn't have to be part of my physical, mental, emotional, spiritual makeup anymore. I can heal this, move through this, and put it in the past and let it go and let it wash down the river. So another tool that you can use if that whole inner child thing isn't really your thing, especially for guys, I know that is really hard to relate to because I live with guys and they look at me like I'm goo-goo. Another tool that you can use is something called stream of conscious writing. And there's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can just grab a pen and start scribbling and see what the pen has to say. Or the technique that I used to find super helpful, I'm sure it would still be super helpful, I just don't really use it anymore, is we can write a question down with our dominant hand, and then we switch over, put the pen in the non-dominant hand and see what the answer is. That's a right brain, left brain, conscious, subconscious kind of way of pulling things out of ourselves that we might not even remember was there or didn't even know was there. Because remember, some of the things that we feel might not even be ours. They might have been passed through our lineage, and it's right in our DNA. It can be related to a situation that we had, but we might be feeling it super deeply because it's kind of a compounded experience that our moms might have had, or our grandmothers might have had, or our great-grandmothers might have had, or. This information is packed into our DNA. And the goal is to have the intent to get it out of our DNA, to heal our DNA. And yes, we can heal our DNA. If anybody wants to argue that, have at it. But I'm not playing because it's proven. It's a fact. I've experienced it. I'm not the only one. It is packed into our DNA. It is encoded with all kinds of information. It's not just eye color or physical attributes or illness and disease. It's everything passed forward from our ancestors, and we will pass it forward to any offspring that we have as well if we don't heal it. I can attest to that too. I can see a lot of patterns in my son. But what's really cool is I can also see when I heal some of that, it's healed in him too. That's where we get into quantum entanglement and quantum physics, and we won't go there today. Today, we're just going to say, show up for yourself. Don't abandon yourself. Don't abandon your feelings. Honor your feelings in your comfortable space in a time that is appropriate for any given situation. Like I said in the last video, we don't want to just burst into tears in a board meeting, right? Not helpful for us, because then we're going to go into shame and guilt and embarrassment, and that's only going to compound to the emotions we're trying to heal. We want to set time aside to effectively, productively manage our feelings, things that get brought to the surface that come up for us to heal. Like I said in the last video, we wouldn't stifle a sneeze. If we have to go to the bathroom, we can only hold it so long before it has to happen. But we've gotten really good at holding emotion. Why? Why have we gotten really good at that? Because that's what we've been conditioned to do. And in my opinion, it is completely unnatural. It is as unnatural as having to go to the bathroom. It is completely unnatural. Having emotion as part of being a human. Having emotion as part of being a mammal. Gorillas have emotion. Deer have emotion. Don't tell me they don't. Birds have emotion. Penguins have emotion. When they lose their partner, they have emotion. They have feelings about it. They move through it a lot quicker because they are in the moment having their feelings about it. And when they are done mourning, they move on. We don't. We stifle all of that emotion and we talk ourselves out of it. We gaslight ourselves out of that emotion. Why? Why do we do that? Because that's been the social conditioning. And I want to bust that social conditioning more than anything in this world. Stop it. Stop it. Just like you honor that you have to go to the bathroom, honor that you have emotion. Show up for yourself to be willing to deal with the emotion that you naturally, normally have, with the intent that you're going to move through it and you're going to heal it. Not that you're going to get stuck in it, not that it's going to consume you, not that you're going to get so profoundly overwhelmed with this emotion that you just can't bear the thought of having a cry. No. We're just going to move through it. And we're just going to let it go. And I know it can be scary to approach those emotions, and that's why we have counselors and life coaches and health coaches and best friends and husbands and wives and all of these people in our lives to just hold our hand for a minute. I was at a healing retreat many years ago, but it was I think it was a 3 or 4 day retreat. And I was so overwhelmed with emotion. The woman that was essentially, she was running the retreat. She said, "You know what, Lori, I really think you just need to hop into her lap and just have a cry. Let her hold you and have a cry." And I was like, no, I am so not doing that. I'm a grown adult. I am not going to sit in some woman's lap and let her hold me while I cry. And I was like, it's not going to happen. And she said, "What's stopping you from your healing? Why are you stopping yourself from your healing?" And I couldn't take it. I couldn't take the fact that I was stopping myself from my healing, which I went there to do. So guess what I did? I reluctantly kind of sat in her lap, and she held me until I stopped crying. And honestly, that was the most cathartic experience I had ever had when I was learning how to deal with my emotion. And really, it took maybe all of, I don't know. It seemed like forever because I was really uncomfortable and I didn't want to do it. It seemed like forever, but I bet it was only like 4 or 5 minutes. 4 or 5 minutes in the grand scheme of my entire life's timeline. 4 or 5 minutes that I allowed myself to really deeply, at a soul level, at my core, cry. In the safety of a loving environment. And boy, did she have an amazing mother energy. Maybe there is just enough in you that wants to heal so badly that you're willing to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and ask someone to just hold you for a minute and allow yourself to just cry. Or, whatever. It doesn't have to be crying. Maybe you have, in a lot of cities, they have these, what are they called? Are they called anger rooms? Something like that. You can go to this facility and just smash stuff. Old sinks, old mirrors, old dressers, old couches. They set up this whole room for you and give you baseball bats and sledgehammers and hammers, and I don't even know, because I don't know much about them, but I've seen them and I thought, I sure could have used one of those a couple of years ago. And I did it myself. I did grab a baseball bat, and we had a really old couch that we were about to put out to the curb. And I took a baseball bat to that really old couch, and I just smashed and smashed and smashed until I could physically feel that anger leave my body. And by the way, there is no shame in being sad. There is no shame in being angry, and there's no shame in being afraid. Just allow. So with that, I leave you for today, and I look forward to your comments, to your questions, to your suggestions. Anything you have, just comment below. Thank you so much. Bye for now.